Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. Well, Nick, back in the day, you and I, that meant something to us, right?
Oh yeah.
It meant we were going to go watch some big old trucks fly across the sky and
Yep.
do crazy things, right? I I didn't go all the time, but it was just fun to always hear those announcements, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Monster Jam.
got you into the mood. Now I wake up on Sundays and I'm so excited to open up the HyperClean Specialist Group and just see how many bottles of codeine are broken on Sundays.
Yeah. It's I like the fact that Corey is just he goes, look, I've been doing this a long time. I just dropped 2 in no time. Like I just went years without doing it. That's how it happens. Like stuff what they say, bad news comes in threes. You know what I mean? So Corey, you might want to secure that next bottle real well because it could be a third one. But yeah,
Or
it's
might
always
not, Corey.
yeah, might not.
Might
Well,
not.
yeah,
Like
it's a
Sundays can become a great day for HyperClean. How
yeah for
many
sure.
bottles get broken? There was cars getting smashed. Why not bottles? That's all I'm
I hear
saying.
you.
All right. It is fun though to have some jokes. I'd say we are going to go into the specialist group though and dive into some questions, not necessarily jokes, because as like Drake said, we'll get into his question later. He's like, might be dumb. No dumb
No,
questions, Drake. We appreciate all the great questions because there's something Nick and I talk about, right? There actually can become so many. I didn't want to say mundane is kind of an interesting word to use. I didn't want to say mundane. Trivial is another word, but it seems to be a little wrong to say. There's so many things that in detailing, because detailing is, just think of the word, right? We're beyond just normal to that OCD, outrageous, 100% everything. So there becomes, when you're trying to get there can become some of these, hey, well, what product pad, what exact, rotate, right? Kind of makes sense, though. You and I can have some internal questions why people make such comments on our, like a Instagram post or something. They'll
yep,
ask that. But when it comes down to it, we can also go, we get it, right? Like we do understand why people need to ask the questions. When I got into getting past the bottles breaking, I immediately saw in and open and went, listen, I don't understand. Not something for me because I never did any of those big, huge trucks.
yeah,
Never. But 6 bottles of Sparta, Donald. That's pretty cool. Wild to
yeah.
see 6 bottles out there, Justin, 3 on some hot shot trucks. So when these trucks, we see them and we get into them, I know not your forte, right? Not my forte, but this is the part of what's great about the specialist group, right? Even though maybe people wonder some questions on our Instagram posts or we don't know, they can go into the specialist group,
Yep.
find people just like them who have the same type of questions. I imagine people all want to know from Donald some great information around why 6 bottles of Sparta on that truck.
Sure. Yeah, no, one of the probably the worst jobs I ever had very early in my career is I did I don't know, like 10 or 15 wreckers that pick up semi trucks when they're broken down. And they got all the toolboxes and all the nooks and crannies. And I was like, oh, this will be easy. Big flat panels. Boy, was it not easy. That was my first foray into using old solvent based compounds and polishes out in the heat, which was a very tough learning experience. So you're exactly right. I mean, a lot of people run into detailing a lot of different things. And as you move through the detailing space as a business, one of the things that becomes very apparent is as a detailer, you get asked a lot of weird stuff. Hey, I mean, you've been asked this. Hey, you detailing my car. Do you do boats? Do you do RVs? Do you do, whatever the case may be? And it's always good to have a group like the specialist group because there are people in there that do those types of things. That is, their bread and butter or things that they do. So it's a great place to utilize all that.
Because I see it, and I think most of us that are listening would go, well, why did a guy like that put a ceramic coating on his truck, right? Like, why would a hotshot guy put a coating on? I'm just saying, I think there's some people that would question that because they go, listen, I think that Mary that runs through with her Escalade, I think she should get a ceramic coating, but not sure why this hotshot truck guy should. And I bet you there's a lot of us, Justin and Donald, or anybody that has been around those people would go, well, they're probably more of a candidate to have protection because of what we talk about, the ease of maintenance, right? Like, how many times will that truck get washed versus
Well,
Mary who runs
it's
down
it's
through the
just it's
wash,
just like
right?
this. A car owner is no different than a truck guy or truck owner like Hotshot Truck. It's all about who's going to take pride in what they have. The thing that we
Great point.
sell as detailers is we target the people that want to take pride in what they drive. Okay. I mean, that's really our target audience. That could be anything. I mean,
It got lost though, right? As coatings pushed up and we got pushed into this direction, coatings were only one way. It was for like somebody with an Escalade, or, we got into this
exotics.
moment
Yeah.
right back in 19 and 27, right? I'm just going back to that time. There has been an evolution.
Yeah.
Or
I
we
mean,
wouldn't have seen hot shut truck guy.
evolution now is more and more people talk about it, right? As much as everybody wants to complain about it being on every product on the shelf, which is a valid complaint, it's also brought knowledge that this stuff exists to everybody. And so when they do talk to somebody that's educated, which again is also a very small percentage of people they'll probably talk to, they'll learn about a ceramic coating. And so there's actually more of a reason for cars that put lots of mileage on to be using ceramic coatings. There's a real reason because they are using their cars above and beyond the average person. So it always comes down to the same thing to me. And it's never, and I guess it's wherever you start in the business. Detailing was one of those things that I saw a lot of stuff very quickly. When you're in the wholesale world, when you start out, like somebody could show up with a semi truck, they could show up with a boat, they could show up with 10 cars, they were going to do whatever had a motor in it that could
Mm-hmm.
make money.
Mm-hmm.
And so what became apparent to me is everybody needed it, or everybody wanted it, or wasn't necessarily true because I wasn't running the business or anything, but you just realize that the percentage of people that you're talking to are the people that care about something. And I think that's where all of this comes from for me.
You can almost ask the question, right? Who would get more value out of protecting their vehicle? Somebody that runs around town and then has the chance to get it cleaned on a regular basis, or that high mileage guy, to your point, who probably won't have time to get it washed for maybe another month or so. So where do we understand then which is worse, which is better, right?
Well,
Let's play that game.
I think it comes down to both of them have value, right? But there's no doubt if somebody is putting a lot of mileage on their car, they're going to benefit the most from a coating or PPF because they're simply just going to put more miles on the car. I mean, we take care of tons of car collections. Is there tons of value in cars that never see the outside having coating on it? Yes and no, right? It's just a protective thing that when the cars go out, it's protected. But is there an argument that we really wouldn't need to do a whole lot because these cars don't see a ton of road time? And so I don't know if it's right to look at it that way. The way I look at it is I've yet to meet a car that I've come across that can't benefit from protection. And I don't care whose it is. I don't care if it's a semi, a hotshot truck, a daily driver, a collection car. I think the hill we got to get over personally is that not enough people have a protected vehicle all the way up and down whoever you're talking about.
Okay, so let's give some just brief little moment or sell me the pin, right? Let's do that little game from a wonderful movie, Wolf on Wall Street, right? Like, so I'm a hot shot truck guy. I'm gonna butcher that how many times, right? Hot shot truck, right? There we go. Finally got it out, and I need a coating, right? But let's put ourselves into a little bit more of a play, right? You're the detailer. I see that a customer that maybe I'm cleaning the wife's Escalade, since we talked about that earlier, or whatever, right? I'm cleaning a vehicle and I see a hot shot truck there. Well, it doesn't really think, right? Because I think that just the average guy, we're going to go, well, that guy's never going to want it. Okay, well, let's think about then how we should.
Well, first of all, that truck costs more than the Escalade. That's the thing people need to get over is understanding that semi trucks or hotshot trucks, or get into F-350 and bigger,
Oh yeah,
right? All the way up and down. Those trucks are way more valuable price wise than the average high priced SUV, right? They're just, it's nothing to drop, 200, $250,000, whatever the price may be for some of these things. I think the benefit is if you're going to beat up your truck, which a lot of people who are doing this type of work are, tow trucks are another one they're on the road all the time. This would be a good
good one.
good
Good one.
conversation to talk about. Is when I talk to those types of individuals, I just say, how long are you going to keep it? Well, in a trucking business, you kind of have two schools of thought, but I think we're going to say most go with the old school thought. I need to get as long out of this thing as I can. Well, if your business is on it and you're driving valuable stuff, which a lot of hotshot guys take cars, they take all kinds of stuff that you don't want to pull up at your drop off and have a sun faded, beat up truck. Okay. Because it doesn't give people faith that you
Yeah.
know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's where I would start. This gives you that protection to keep this looking good
Image
for
the
10
same way
years.
you would pitch it to the
100%.
business guy with a Mercedes,
100%.
right?
100%. Because no matter what, everything that I do, and I've said this on this podcast for 6 or 7 years, and I always get questions about how I sell. Everything starts with not how expensive the car is, because I don't care. That's between them and the dealership and them and their money. How long are you going to keep it? When you start talking to people who are in the trucking business, they need these vehicles to last. They not only need them to last mechanically. So a lot of people that have the best trucking businesses, you'll see that they're the most meticulous about the maintenance of the trucks because they're already thinking 10 years ahead. Okay. We have separate, you can have two ways that construction companies operate with all the trucks that they buy. There's some that go, we buy them, we keep them. Some that go, hey, everything's on a 2-year lease. We're not dealing with this. We're going to beat them up. We're going to blow them up. So that guy, I'm not really wasting time with the second guy. I'm like, oh, they don't want to keep him. But most guys that are trucking for a living, they want to keep their stuff as long as possible. And no one's ever really spoke to them about how to keep their truck on the interior and exterior in a nice condition. How do I know? Because I've talked to those people. I've talked to people that just simply don't know. And I think one of the most important things is to realize that maybe somebody has never talked to them. You just assume somebody's approached them. I assume nobody's ever heard anything about it.
You're right. I think everybody thinks the other way.
Yeah, when you start talking about money invested in this stuff, this is real big boy money at times, especially when people are buying 4 and 5 and 6 trucks at a time. And you're going, they just dropped $1.5 million on trucks. All of a sudden, a conversation about a ceramic coating is put into perspective. It's not that much money, right? It just isn't. And then, hey, man, bring it back to me quarterly if they're that kind of owner. Bring it back to me every 6 months. Bring it back to me once a year. Let us get something else on it. Get it cleaned up for the year or whatever. You can really open a lot of doors. But the big thing is don't go in there and start cheapening your services because you figure these people don't have money. So let me get this straight. The person driving a $125,000 Escalade has the money, but the guy that just bought a $350,000 truck doesn't have the money. You got to put this all in perspective and not really go in. Now, if somebody's like, hey, I'm going to give you 10 trucks, are you probably going to give them a little bit of a bulk discount? That's not what we're talking about here. But also, can you give them $1,000 off? No, you don't have that kind of room. You can give them a little bit of a discount for all that work. But yeah, I just think a lot of people don't put it into perspective of, number one, they probably have never been talked to by a professional. If they were talked to, they were usually talked to by the cheap guy. So go in there and be the professional. And then secondly, you need to understand that these people have spent a lot of money.
You imagine going in there going, hey, I got a lifetime coating.
Oh yeah, that would be. I
Sold.
can I can only imagine how many people. Uh,
Mm.
and one of the things that I think would put me at ease talking to these people is they're going to be some of the most real people about what's
Mm-hmm.
possible because they're
Mm-hmm.
going to have been through it. They're going to be like, lifetime, what? That does because they're like servicing their trucks all the time. You know what I mean? And they're going, well, nothing on my truck is like, what's this guy talking about? And you might disqualify yourself with just a stupid pitch, you know? So you don't have to make a crazy pitch. You just have to be the person willing to call it like it is.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get over to this question. This comes from Drake, and this is where I was saying, hey, he was like, might be a dumb question. Okay. And I get the point of the question because he asked, can bug be used as a pre-washed for lower panels and slash or a wheel cleaner? Right? Totally get the question because there's a lot of companies out there that have these generic things. And if we would say, listen, if you want a generic, when we say generic, wrong word, multi-use would be a better word. That would be TRX, right?
Yes.
Tire rubber exterior is the X, right? Like think of the entire thing, right? So let's go back and forth on why somebody would wonder about bug, right? It makes sense of I can spray and clean a bug. I could take the same and take TRX and spray and clean a bug. So could bug cross over and clean wheels, right? Therein lies basically the question that I think people are really wondering internally, but they don't really know how to ask the right question, right? Like,
Sure.
so we have designed TRX for that, but bug, no. Bug is specifically designed
Yeah.
for bugs.
Yeah. I mean, when you talk about what you're facing with bugs, you're facing a totally different thing than just road grime, road film, all those kinds of things.
Brake cleaner.
This
Yeah.
this is why I find it funny when people talk about APCs on the exterior. Right? We've talked about this before, but if you look at APCs on the exterior versus something that's like TRX formulated, it's night and day the type of cleaning power you're able to do on the things you see on the exterior of a vehicle versus an APC. Okay, APC attacks. One of the things we'll get into as we start to develop some more products. Not all alkaline is created equal, and this is kind of the problem. Is that let's say APC is an 11 on the pH scale and TRX is an 11 on the pH scale. That doesn't mean they're going to attack the same things with the same power just because they're the same on the pH scale. Right? We're developing a product right now that is going to attack things on the exterior of your car, and it may even be less on the pH scale than something like TRX, or it could be higher on the pH scale, but it's going to attack things differently. And so when you look at bug is a perfect example of you're going after these specific things on your paint that have specific characteristics. And so you need a specific thing that handles those characteristics better. And that's not the same ingredients as what's in TRX or an APC or those types of things. And so what I really, and I love that Drake asked this question because like you said, I'm sure there's a lot of people that wonder these things. Part of the thing that's happened in the chemical world is a lot of things have been oversold and undersold, and that only confuses people more. Like APC on the exterior of a vehicle to me is kind of laughable because I go, that is just a lot more work than using a product like TRX.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I want people to understand that not all alkaline on the scale, and that could be acidic, that could be on the opposite end. It doesn't all attack things the same way. So let's give an example. Let's say battery acid is a 1 on the pH scale. I could create a chemical that's 1 on the pH scale that's not as corrosive as battery acid.
Mm-hmm.
So what people misunderstand, because a lot of content gets put out there and a lot of people are spraying APC on the exterior, will it do some stuff? Yeah, it'll do some stuff. but it's not going to attack road film on the level of something like TRX because it doesn't have the right ingredients to attack those things. And so that's what I hope people understand from this conversation is it's not foolish to think this stuff could work multi-use, but bug cleaner specifically needs some enzymes in it to attack the things that bugs leave behind. And if it doesn't have that, then you don't really have as easy or clear removal as you would want.
So, and think of it, here's the way I think of it. And maybe people can take this analogy and use it is, did you used to trade baseball cards back in the day, right? Tops, go buy the box.
Yeah.
Mine, think of like the late 80s, 87, 89. Like that was me in my prime of there, right? Like
getting the Beckett every month.
Yep. I mean, yeah. And then, I mean, inside of that culture is meetings, right? To meet up with people and then go, right?
Trade cards.
I'm not going to go into all that. But think of it this way, right? Each product is going to have a card and it's going to have a stat card. It's going to have if any of you play, I play FIFA. It's an online soccer game, right? FIFA 26. You go get a player card. It's going to tell you, hey, they're really good at dribbling. This number is 62. Their shot numbers at this.
Americans may call this Madden. We might talk about Madden football would be, what most of us. The player has statistics. They're fast. They're this. They're that. They're, whatever.
Okay, right. So you're right. Like, and I just haven't played Madden.
Yeah, I hear
Madden
you.
got too much for me. I couldn't there's so many audibles and you throw the ball and then you press all this stuff.
Yeah, it's all good.
Too many things going on.
I hear you. That's why I had to tell all the people, if you've played Madden, you got agility, you got speed, you got hands, you got this, you got that. You got all of these different things. Like you said, that there's a ranking to what a chemical would do. Basically,
yeah.
you would have a stat sheet for
a stat sheet, right? And so, in some chemicals are going to list a just basically is this surfactant is going to be good at this, right? Like
this is going to handle grease, and this is not going to handle grease.
Bingo.
This is going to handle oil based better than this person, and this one's going to handle dirt and grime better than this, and that's kind of really what we mean by not all alkalinity is the same, right? So you kind of gave a better example of what it means that not all alkalinity is created equal. There's some things that are 13 on the pH scale that don't clean the exterior of a car of something that's 11 on the pH scale. And you go, well, I got all this power. And it's like, but the power is directed and it's like a hitting a foul ball. Yeah, you hit it 500 feet, but it didn't stay in play because it wasn't the right swing, right? And so when we do these kind of in-depth talks, one of the reasons is because I do sympathize and empathize that people have been said and given so much that's not accurate. Like, I'm just telling you guys, if you're using the APC on the exterior of your car versus TRX, I'm going to clean a car more thoroughly and quicker and have less elbow grease than you'll have every single time. You won't there's nothing you can do to outrace using the right chemical.
So we always say, and most of us, everybody agrees, your chemical cost is really the very minimal part of your business, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even if you guys are detailing on any real scale, chemical costs, and I'll share my accountant who you and I have worked with. When he sees what it costs me to detail a car in chemicals and coating, he chuckles every tax year. He's like, I just very rarely is there a business that could be your size with so little actual operation cost outside of people cost. And that's what a chemical would fall into.
So the black and white number on your spreadsheet, on your bottom line, on your
P&L,
profit and loss statement, right? Your P&L statement.
As everybody can see, we know who handles the finances at.
Absolutely. 100%. No doubt about
It's
that.
called a profit and loss statement. You also have a balance sheet. He was just like, spreadsheet. I'm looking for the word. I'm like,
I'm
yeah,
looking for the word. It's up there somewhere. I'm going to grab it. 48th out of 50 on education. You bet. Uh,
oh man.
so, damn, I'm gone now. You left me
I
off
know
of
I
a
couldn't.
trail. Now I
Hey,
don't know where
everybody's
I was
listened
headed.
long enough. You knew I couldn't let this go. Like we had to have a laugh. But
But
go ahead.
well, okay. What I was going to say is you can head down this way of like I have this theory. Oh, no, it's gone.
No,
I
no.
can't grab it back.
What it is you were talking about chemical cost, and to me,
It was.
there we
Okay.
go.
So chemical cost on a spreadsheet on that profit and loss statement really is minuscule, right?
Yes,
Is
minuscule.
what we've said. But reality of running a business, and this is the ironic part of which I joked with you earlier, like a lot of people say online of the podcast is about chemicals. It's like,
Yeah.
no, the proper use of chemicals dramatically changes your business. Like
Yes.
it is so minimal on your profit and loss statement, but the way you use them and how you can take the knowledge of a chemical, I think is why I guess you and I are so, let's use that passion bucket, right? Like
Yeah.
if we're so passionate about why people should understand chemicals is because it does dramatically impact your business. Maybe not on the balance statement, but in how you use them, how quickly you use them, what happens, what you use on. Let's go into this. If I have a plastic bumper,
Yep.
I have something that I'm going to put trim ceramic coating on.
Yep.
I gotta just load it up.
Yes.
But so many of us have a caution of going, okay, I just want to put this guy paid whatever. So what, or whatever reason that somebody does,
Sure.
maybe because we go, listen, on the paint, this is what I'm used to. And I guess I get a lot of people will go, okay, drip, drip, drip paint. This is the way I do it. And then they just go over into the bumpers and they take trim and they go drip, drip, drip.
Yeah.
And they wipe it on. Totally get it. Like, totally get it.
Yeah. And I would say when I see trim, probably my thought is if I were to put this amount on the paint, it would be running off the paint. It'd be dripping on the ground. That's the way that I view it. Now, I don't have to instinctually even think about it anymore, right? I've done so much trim at this point in my career, but I always tell people if you just understand how porous a piece of plastic is, and you say there's a million pores on this plastic, the goal of coating is to fill up those million pores. That's basically what you're trying to do at trim is you're trying to flood the system and get it all the way to the top level of the pore, like where it's almost seeping out. You have so much on there, but people, like you said, I think they just go from paint and it doesn't matter what coating I've used. One of the very early coating companies that I used, they instructed everybody to lay it on thin and they were having all kinds of issues. And they're like, well, why don't you have issues? Because, the sun is the worst thing for trim. Why aren't you having issues? And I go, I don't know. So I sent somebody out here and they go, well, that's like 5X what we use at our headquarters. And I go, well, then you have a lot of people there that don't know what they're doing. You just simply don't know what you're doing. Like, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but this is actually a real story. Like,
right. But so take what I was saying. Bottom line of the spreadsheet, whatever that I couldn't come up with.
Yep.
And then real world and in detailing.
Yep. So here'd be an example. The exact issue that they were having is that people were having to redo the trim 2 and 3 times. The coating cost now becomes irrelevant because you have 3 or 4X the people cost now, which is by far the biggest expense, whether that's your own time or it's, people on your team.
You don't see that on that spreadsheet.
Yeah. So one of the things that I would say is look, they had people, owner of the company was here.
You don't see, I guess what I was going is you don't see that comeback and all the, hey, this is listed out of this line item as
hey,
these people returned just because of this. You don't see that.
We did a trim coating It didn't look good on our first application. So we did a second. So we did a third. So we did a fourth. Now that thing's been in my shop for 2.5 days, everything's done but the trim. And we're just using an example. This could be anything, right? This could be any service. But the most fascinating thing to me was when they came out here is them not understanding plastic, and they were quote unquote a manufacturer. I said, it's just logic. When I wipe on ceramic on a trim, I can see it just soak in. I mean, I can just watch it. So I just load it up. So if you take something like a Jeep Wrangler that has a lot of plastic, I think people would be fascinated how fast I can coat it, because all I'm doing is as much product as I can, wipe it on as much product as I'm not looking back. I'm not worried about leveling it. I'm not worried about any of that. I don't have a single thought of any of that. I don't even have, again, what you guys may see on camera at times is not how you can shoot it in real life. I don't even have a towel next to me because I know I'm not going to put it on the paint. I'm going to be careful. So if it's just me and I got to get something out the door, it's not because I'm careless, because I've done it so much. I'll only put product on a certain part of the pad. I'll leave a buffer so it doesn't touch the paint. Like I won't put it all the way up at the top or wherever I'm going to be rubbing next to the paint. And I just load everything up. I get done. Maybe have to use the restroom, take a phone call, whatever. And then I'll go back before I deliver the car and go, did anything not soak in? Let me hit that little high spot, because it's not going anywhere. This is not this idea that it's going
when
to
you
dry.
hit it, what do you do? You
I'll just
leveling, quote unquote?
I'll just take a towel, and sometimes what you'll have is let's just say you have a big piece of plastic. You'll have one really dark spot that looks like it just has too much coating on it. That coating is not going to dry that quickly. I'm not talking about leaving it for 16 hours. Although I've done that before and just went and leveled it and it was good. I don't want to advocate that. But let's just say it's an hour later and I see a little bit like there's just extra coating. I just take a towel and wipe it and the extra coating's gone. I've never had it doesn't matter whose plastic it is or what story you're going to try to tell me. I've never had an issue doing it that way. And I've shared it on this podcast like 1,000 times. And I still see people very timid, and I understand. Number one,
totally
you need to understand something. Pieces of plastic are really cheap to go buy a new one from the dealer. So what's the worst that can happen? You learn a tough lesson and go, hey, the next time I work on this Toyota, I'm not going to do that. Okay, it doesn't work. But plastic pieces aren't that expensive. So I never got scared like it was paint, because if you've ever had to replace plastics or whatever, you realize there's hardly any money that has to be spent, maybe a couple $100, right? But I do this on, doesn't matter if it's a Lambo, doesn't matter if it's an Audi, doesn't matter if it's a Ford, doesn't matter if it's Toyota, doesn't matter. I do it all the same way.
If I, put trim on a piece of plastic and maybe a week, couple of weeks, whenever, and whether it's me or whether it's a customer see some little white or some little drops or see something, what happened?
Almost 100% of the time, and again, everybody's situation, I can't say that I'm in your situation, they laid it on too thin. And then what happens is the solvent has places, when you lay something on extremely thick on a porous piece of plastic, there's almost nowhere for anything to escape because you're overfilling the area. There's almost no escape of anything. This is the way that I view it. This is kind of what we've seen at HQ, is when you lay something on thin, there's all this room for everything to start kind of what we would call on paint solvent pop. So if you see white dots, you just laid it on too thin. Go back. When I say I lay it on thick, this is what I mean. If you took this amount of product and you put it on the panel,
take the dropper out.
No, I don't take the dropper.
Just start pouring on.
But I literally, I mean, dude, I just go crazy with it because I was always fearful, and this has been my whole career with coating. I didn't want anybody's plastic to fail, like being protected. I just wanted it fully protected. I was providing the service. This is kind of how I feel about glass coating. Dude, our glass coating is so affordable. Load up the windshield. Load it up. Almost to the point of it running everywhere. If you guys want to do circles because it makes you feel better, whatever. But when I do glass coating, I I mean, I just load it up. I mean, because I know, number one, that front windshield's going to take a hit. It's going to get beat up. And I want as much coating on there as possible. And because it's so affordable, I don't give it a lot of thought, except for I just want, and this would be on my own car. Like, I just want my car to have protective windshield. So that's what I do everything. That's why I do everything the way I do it, is because I'm just like, it's like loading up paint with coating. I just want as much of the coating on the surface as I can. So I'm going to load it up. And it's no different on any part of the car.
So, and it is springtime, right? And which we talk about is, I mean, quarterly reapplying glass to a windshield.
It's a no-brainer.
It is. It's a no-brainer for me, the car owner, and it's a no-brainer for me, the pro that has customers with glass ceramic coating on their car, or just customers in my database, right? Like, this is something that is extremely practical. And gosh, hey, wonder why we talk about products and business together. Hey, they do kind of work, right? Like,
Yep.
you want to grow your business, you want to grow your profit line.
And by the way, we're not saying it's going to fail in 3 months. It's just a standard practice. You know, for me, that like twice a year, before summer, before winter, is a nice little place to be. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And for me, it was always because I'm here in Oklahoma.
Right.
And I would always tell my customers, hey, we're going to put things on every spring, every summer. And we would just go with the seasons. For here, it makes sense that way.
Sure. And I feel like I've been thinking about this a lot, probably for the last year. And we talk to our team all the time. And I talk to so many of you all the time. I think part of it is that people, especially the pro in this business, is very, very confused by how things work. And I kind of understand that, because there's so many people talking all the time. I mean, we're talking right now. I mean, we're not immune from it. Like, we're talking.
And what I asked you earlier, how many damn podcasts are there now?
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's a lot. And some of this stuff, and people ask me, you know, I put my first coating on, I think I sent you the Corvette that I did it on, was late 2009, you know, and I always treated coating, and back then it was brutal to deal with.
It was your white one, yeah?
Yeah. And I
saw some New Balance over there to the side.
Yeah. So I say this, we have lost connection with common sense. And I understand why we've lost connection with it, because so many people are talking, and they're talking strictly to get you to buy into what they're doing. But if somebody's telling me to use an APC on the exterior, or somebody's telling me to lay a coating on in a very thin manner, we know the technology out there. Okay. And when you're dealing with paint, and you're dealing with trim, and you're dealing with glass, you're dealing with a porous system. And so think of it from a common sense perspective. If I have a lot of pores, I want as much coating in those pores as I can get. If I want to clean the exterior of a vehicle, I want something that takes on oil and grime and grease and antifreeze and all these things really well. That isn't an APC. I don't care who builds it. That's not what it's not going to handle. And then you're going to tell me it's safe on the interior. Those two things don't go together. Point blank, period, end of story. And we can have any chemistry debate we want, but that's just the reality, is that APCs were built for hand lotion and other things on the interior being on a steering wheel. That was the basis of that technology. So it's like when you and I always have these conversations, when you know this stuff, you get faster, you beat your body up less, you have less elbow grease you have to put onto the car. And for any of you that have detailed a lot of cars, saving on elbow grease is worth it to me. I mean, where do you think AWX came from? Mm-hmm. Marty can tell you the story. We only developed AWX because long ago I called Marty and I go, I'm done scrubbing rims or scrubbing wheels. I'm done with it. Okay. That doesn't mean forever, but I had several of them that I go, if we just had a common sense acid, I could get in and out of some of these vehicles a little quicker that's where it came from, because elbow grease, when you've done a lot of vehicles, becomes problematic.
You know who absolutely is 100% right now going, Nick, I feel you. He'll even probably throw the dog in there. I feel you, dog. That's Ryan. Ryan inside the group posts a photo of those black wheels and goes, hey guys, I need some help here. I've used TRX and I've used Fuego 3 to 4 times, scrubbing away. And listen, when we talk about black wheels that you can already see that they're not black. I mean, Ryan, you're pretty gracious
they're
to the
brown
guy
and red. They're brown
saying
and red.
that it's a black wheel. Like, that's not black. It ain't. That's like a grayish black. Okay,
a reddish
he's
black.
already great. Like, so, but this is a very specific point of Ryan in the group asking, hey, listen, I've put TRX on, I've put Fuego on, and it's just I'm scrubbing it. He's going, I'm elbowing, ain't working.
Yeah, no, and it's not going to. You have a baked on brake dust that, by the way, you may use the strongest acid in the world or AWX or whatever, and it still may not come back. This could be just a cooked wheel.
Yeah.
But if you had AWX, you would have identified that within one use. You'd have been like, this is a cooked wheel. I need to let my customer know it's a cooked wheel. This is the black wheel epidemic has been how quickly people don't realize that they can just have a cooked wheel forever.
The reason I didn't buy, and yes, Dustin and Donald, the reason up until my rock stars, the reason I didn't buy black wheels until that point, and I finally caved and threw my towel in, literally like the guy in the ring that managing, just throwing the towel. It's like, I'm fucking caving. The reason I never did black wheels was because, same as I do now, I pull up to a stoplight, and that immediately first reaction when I would look at a car with black wheels, because black wheels weren't around in every car. Don't kid yourself.
Yeah, they weren't.
It took a while for that to grow. And then when they were early into the market, I would pull up to a stoplight and go, oh, well, you clean your brake. Oh,
you can't.
That's a black wheel.
Yeah, so we actually still see this. One of the biggest offenders that we deal with in our daily businesses, the black wheels from Mercedes, there's no forgiveness. Like once it goes, it's gone. Like it's in refinish territory. And every time we roll up and one of my guys goes, hey, so-and-so got a new Mercedes. What do you think the first thing they say?
Black wheels?
Hey, these are, if they don't, I go, black wheels? Question mark. And if they are black wheels, that customer gets a note. And I go, just so we're clear, there's no miss in this car. Okay. And they're like, well, I don't miss. I said, I don't care if you're on vacation. I don't care if it hasn't been driven.
For the record,
yeah, we're doing it. Okay. We're doing this. This is getting maintained because for whatever reason, and we had several instances, the finish it really turned that red from the brake dust so quick that we were just like, we just found out because we had to refinish a couple wheels for some customers, not things we did, but they were like, I want them refinished. And I looked at them and I go, you can't take a week off. You can't take a second off. And from that day on, we never, when we see a Mercedes black wheel ever. So when I saw Ryan's post, I go, at least AWX, an acid-based product, would let you know on that first application, do I have a burnt wheel that needs refinishing? Or can this be revived? In his instance, I'd like to see what he finds with AWX. But my guess looking at that wheel, that is in refinish territory. But AWX will tell you that story the first time you use it, period, point blank.
So I can go, Ryan, listen, man, I understand, right?
Yeah.
Like I look at a black wheel and I go, not sure I should put acid on a black wheel, right? Like I understand this has been over the past, I just call it the cycle of moving from predominantly using wheel acid as an industry long before most of us that are listening can remember to moving into this non-acid wheel cleaner for like multiple decades. And there seems to be this movement of multiple companies starting to go back to, Well, the actual best way to clean a wheel is wheel acid. Listen, Ryan, and any of us that haven't purchased AWX yet, I empathize and I totally understand, right?
Oh
Like it's
yeah.
like I get it. You've been programmed.
And by the way, I've been there too. I've seen those wheels and had to scrub and scrub. Ooh, it's miserable. Miserable.
It is, and it's miserable to spray acid on a wheel and go, "Hey, customer, sorry." Right?
Yep.
Like I get both sides. I just got to. So then let's talk it through. I see a black wheel. Which ones can I use wheel acid on? Brian, he does have the middle name Chop Liver. Don't kid yourself, Brian. His middle name is Chop Liver. It's Brian Chop Liver Mildren. Okay, but right, like he's to his point. Like, hey, that's what I was saying. Right, like Brian's like, hey, just throw AW. Why? Right? The question has got to be asked. Why? Why can we just say throw AWX on that? Why can you be so sure?
Well, it's a safer acid. We've kind of said that it's not the acid everybody used to talk about, and even some companies still put out. Several companies still put out like a traditional scary wheel acid. So I get it. The thing with this is that wheel acid needs to be understood that don't put it on a hot wheel. Okay, like that. If you can't touch the brake rotor, if you can't touch the back of the spokes on the wheel or the flanges of the wheel, like it's too hot. Okay. Be very cautious in direct sunlight as we go into summer. This is the realities around a wheel acid. But if I'm in the shade and the truck or car's been sitting there all day and all I did was pull it out to detail it, the wheel is cool. It is what it is. It's ready to go. The next thing is this isn't one of those chemicals you set and go do 5 other things. On a black wheel especially. You need to sit there and you need to watch what you're doing. Because you're taking a scalpel to this wheel. That's what a wheel acid is. Where TRX and Fuego, user friendly, Fuego's pH neutral. It's very, very low headache. When you're using an acid, you need to pay attention. And so when people will see me on camera, they'll go, hey, you kept re-wetting the wheel. I'm like, yeah, I don't want any chance of anything drying. And a couple extra sprays of product give me peace of mind. I'm good with a couple extra sprays of product. It's not, but I do that out of habit with everything because I don't want to get into scrubbing and elbow grease. And so I use chemicals to my advantage because at this point, everybody, I'm 25, 26, 27 years in to when I first detailed a car. The elbow grease, I'm kind of good on it. I've done my time. So the only thing
Let's
you do
talk
with acid is just pay attention. That's it.
and let's talk about that drying, like because you mentioned it's very underemphasized. It really is. I think there's a lot of us that when we go around a car, we start spraying or start doing something, and if we ever see some damage or see something later, we might not put into that question of how did this happen? Of hey, was this or was it like the dwell time is one the drying
Yep.
is big, and it doesn't matter where we've talked in the past about dwell time and why we've developed things and why we have it to have dwell time. Listen, if it drying is the like
That's the problem.
it is it's what you never want to happen, right?
Yep.
It's where you say spray extra. I'll say sometimes I'll have my power washer just to kind of like
Missed it.
throw some moisture in the air, right? Like anything. I do not want a product to dry on any surface.
Yeah, and it doesn't even matter the product. I mean, I think that's the other thing. Like, there's just things that become good practice. Like when we were using really terribly formulated soaps back in the day, and you didn't have the best water source, you were just kind of told you just don't want things to dry. When you're using aggressive APCs,
Don't
you were
let it
told,
dry.
yeah, you
Okay.
don't want it to dry on the door panel. You don't want it to dry on a seat. Like we've just gotten to this place where we don't really talk about it much. But if you were around when chemicals were really horrible, it was like the number one thing everybody said to you was, don't let it dry. I mean, that was even the comments. If you go back to like early 3M compounds and polishes that I used, They're like, yeah, you just don't want it to get cakey and dry on the surface. So just, spritz some water on it and run your polish, you're going to run your buffer back over it. I mean, everything was around don't let products dry. And it's a good rule of thumb. And so one of the easiest ways I've shown on plenty of videos now, spray AWX, spray TRX, spray whatever, have a foam cannon right there that you just lay over top the entire wheel. At least it takes you 2 seconds to spray the wheel and everything in there stays moisturized, so to speak. It stays wet and working and all that kind of stuff. And as soon as something starts to really dry, you're not getting any benefit, but you're getting all the risk because all the cleaning power is happening while the surface is wet, not while it's dried. So you're getting kind of a twofold problem. You're getting no benefit from the chemical as it dries, and you're getting all the risk of it damaging something. So when people watch stuff that I do, the number one thing is that's a lot of chemical. First of all, no, it's not. Just because I do a couple more sprays doesn't mean it's a lot of chemical. On a really hammered wheel, I don't use a 32-ounce bottle of AWX. Put that in perspective. Okay? Maybe half. Maybe half, right? Like that's if it's hammered. But most of the time you don't even use that much. And that's with quote unquote the extra sprays that everybody talks about. Like you got to lighten up and use chemicals to your advantage. And we talk about elbow grease, but another thing is it doesn't dry. And dries where the damage happens.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. All right. So a thing that we see quite a bit inside, whether it's another group or inside our groups, is questions about foam cannons and soap. So we got two that I'm just going to throw in together because I think it's a great time to talk about both, right? Like if I have a foam cannon, what is its purpose? What's that dilution? What is it doing? What is that knob on the top there for?
Yeah.
What soap do I put in? How many ounces do I put in? Right? Like we can understand that moment. Okay. So we have a question from Sean as well as from Justin, and it's around foam cannons, concentration levels, and then, well, what's this soap and what's that? All right. So let's talk through it, combining them together. First of all, Justin, how does the car soap concentrate compare to foam wash? Also, is ceramic snow pH neutral? Okay, so how does car soap concentrate compare to foam wash? Something you and I have talked about, but you nailed it right in the comment section. Is what not a people really think about is a dealership type soap versus a prosumer, a pro, whatever you feel. I mean, it's dealership and everybody else, right?
Yep.
Like
Yep.
we don't really think about that a lot because most of us think about 5 gallons is what most people consider that box truck running around, or the people that sell to dealerships sell mostly in that 5 gallons. And that's really what they hang their hat on. Okay. So you've got a 5-gallon concentrate. That's just what the car wash concentrate is. Pour that concentrate into 5 gallons of water, and you will have, well, I guess that's 5 gallons and 32 ounces, but you can figure it out, right? Whether you want to take the 32 ounces out or not. Okay. So, but you get into then a moment of, I've got 5 gallons of soap here versus these other products. Let's go with foam wash, which is 1 gallon. Okay. Well, it makes, wow, I just kind of go, listen, wow, I suddenly got 5 gallons. I put 1 ounce or 2 ounce, like, no. So this is where then the Sean question comes in and why I wanted to pair them both together, right? A foam cannon is designed to take different types of soap. It's designed to take different viscosities. You've got this, which we talked about, that knob on the top. So that helps the dilution. There's all different things inside the foam cannon that can help you with the dilution. Here becomes that moment. Well, if I'm using a foam cannon, well, which one should I use? Well, kind of goes back to which is your target market. Are you a dealership or are you
Yeah, so
everybody
the
else?
car soap that people don't know about is you fill up the foam cannon with
The
directly out of the
entire,
5.
yeah, you're right. My
The
bad. I didn't
entire
leave.
thing
I
is
didn't.
the
Yeah.
entire thing is going in there out of the 5 gallon. It's not
Yep.
that soap is really great for production because you don't have to keep telling guys how to dilute, right? Because you go right out of the 5 gallon container, fill up the entire foam cannon, and then you go from there. It's not as lubricated. It's not
Not as
as
foam.
it's not
People love
yeah. I
foam in
mean
our
yeah. I
world,
mean
but
it's
dealership doesn't love
yeah.
foam.
The foam won't last. It is a production soap. I don't think anybody listening to this should be using it. That's my take. Unless you're telling me you're doing a bunch of dealership work and you got a bunch of guys and you're trying to solve a specific problem. When you look at foam wash, probably the thing people don't realize is just 1 ounce in a foam cannon will produce a massive amount of soap and lubrication on the surface. Am I going to sit here and lie on this podcast and say I measure my foam wash? I've never measured
No,
it.
you're the glug glug.
I won't measure it. I don't do that. But I know what 1 ounce to 2 looks like at this point, and I go ahead and put it in, and I'm good with what comes out. Foam wash is extremely concentrated. If you look at just putting an ounce, ounce and a half, 2 ounces in a foam cannon, there's lots of soaps that can't produce at 1 ounce what foam wash does.
There's this one that's moving out, and you can see him hitting out in quote unquote social media popularity, right? Well, because it's so cheap. But then you talk to people and you go, yeah, you got to put 4 or 5 ounces of soap in there.
Yeah, you don't really have to do that with foam wash. Is ceramic snow pH neutral? The answer is yes. The only non pH neutral soap we have right now in March of 2026 is Cleanse because it's for a deeper clean. It's for beat up vehicles. It's for, a coating customer
Stripping.
you haven't seen in a while. It's to get prepped for paint correction or coating. It's a specific use. These are all good questions. And I would say that one of the things I wish would come back a little bit to the industry as a whole and to all users is that all of these things need to be used for what fits what you're seeing.
Huh.
Like if I saw a lot of beat up trucks, I'm not buying much more than Cleanse because I go, hey, Nick, I don't ever see, well maintained cars. Cool, man. Slap some Cleanse in your
You're
cabinet
going to
and
love the
call it,
strength.
yeah, call it a day,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you're somebody that goes, hey, I'm dealing with customers that care and all that kind of stuff, and I have a lot of ceramic coating customers coming back, you may look at ceramic snow as huge value of being able to add stuff back to their system and protection. If you're
Mm-hmm.
taking care of your own vehicles, you may be a foam wash 3 weeks a month, and one week a month you're throwing ceramic snow on. So what I want to get across to people that I think needs to make a comeback is you got to realize that your situation isn't everybody else's situation. And you have to start developing where these products fit into you, right? Like if you get a lot of bad weather, Infinite Shine may be a better choice than Ultra Dress. Ultra Dress may not be the best decision for you because a solvent-based dressing is going to last a little bit longer. It's going to go on a certain way. It's going to hold up to your elements more. That doesn't mean you don't carry both, but you might think to yourself, I use a lot more Infinite Shine than I do Ultra Dress because I need that solvent, power to handle the elements that I see in Montana or Wisconsin or at times in Tulsa, where you're getting a lot of inclement weather and you go, hey, I'm going to use Infinite Shine on my Jeep right here because it just holds up a little bit better to the elements because there's just a nature of water-based dressings that aren't the nature of a solvent-based dressing. So all of these things have a place. You just have to find out what do you work on the most, what are you doing, and what fits what you're doing.
Yeah. And ceramic snow does kind of fall into that other category of that moment, right? Like foam wash, to your point, should be like the dominant number one go to. And then, okay, every once in a while, I do want to add some protection back in. Let me go ahead and wash with ceramic snow.
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
and again, if you're one of these people that go, dude, I never seen a clean vehicle, I never see one, then Cleanse is your friend. then you
Mm-hmm.
know, you're doing side by sides and you're doing dirt bikes and you're doing beat up trucks. And okay, man, just have cleanse in the cabinet and go to work. You know, you don't have to overthink it.
And then what does that dilution look like inside of the foam cannon? I think the cool part about Sean's question is, listen, detailing has actually gotten to a point that you can geek out about stuff like that.
Agreed. Yeah, it is cool.
But like we do have some moments where the old school motherfuckers like us do have a joke and like listen, man, look it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I literally was reading this and reading Sean's question and going, you know, the cool part about the growth and the evolution and everything that happens inside of detailing is we've gone from Biff to a guy really questioning
Yeah,
about
agreed.
dilution ratios coming out of, hey, if I put this amount in, then what actually comes out? And then, well, there's this like on the panel type that, and you go, okay, man, I don't know all about all that. That like, at least I did. I was like, I don't know. That's in Nick's world, you know, like, let him do that. Like, I just go, wow,
Yeah, so
that's cool.
all of our soaps, guys, is going to be 1 to 2 ounces. I mean, we kind of stay in that, you know, put 1 to 2 ounces in the foam can and go on about your day. Put 1 to 2 ounces in your bucket, go on about your day. You know, we've kind of just made it that way, right? We've just kind of made it simplistic of what it would be like to turn the gallon over, and then by the time it starts coming out, you turn it back over, you're going to be about 1 to 2 ounces. So if you want to measure it out, you're going to be about 1 to 2 ounces. You're going to get the result you're looking for. And I don't think we really have any soap that's not that way. You know, we may at some point, but right now, 1 to 2 ounces in a foam cannon, you're going to get the desired effect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, the questions that you, the listener, have. Listen, HyperClean Specialist is the place for you. It really is. Like the people we've talked about that ask the questions, they also have answers.
Yeah,
Like they
agreed.
ask questions and they also would love to talk to you. It's not like the other groups. It really isn't. Trust me. Nick and I, we go into other groups. We see
we sure
what
do.
happens. It's not that way. If you have a question, there's plenty of people inside of our community, and we love that's what we love about our community. Go in there, ask the questions. Happy to give you really good, tangible, real life, practical, in the moment answers.
Yep.
We'll see everybody there.
See you guys.
HyperClean Specialist on Facebook.
See you guys.